Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to podcastjuicenetp. My name is Michael Dean. You're listening to Work It Like a Job. Joining me today, Mr. Big Sexy and Saxer. How are you?
Man, I'm doing well. Long week, but then I have a whole 3 days to goof off. I like that.
Nice, nice. Also joining us, Mr. Amp Pooh. Sir, how are you?
I'm doing lovely. It's a beautiful Saturday, and I'm going to relax.
All right. I think we got some music playing or something.
Oh, shit, that was me.
There you go. Thank you. Man, so where should we begin? Well, it's October. This year seems to be flying by. And mute my phone, my bad. But yeah, time is moving. Man, I had one of those days where you just kind of, as a parent, you saw things flash, and you just like, makes you sort of stop, take stock of stuff. Just real quick, man, I was at a I can't even talk. It was a field trip. It was the first field trip, kindergarten, and it was to a farm. And I hold
on. I don't mean to clown. Did you really say kindergarten?
Yeah, I don't know any way to say it. Oh, hey, you know what I meant. But so yeah, we're at the kindergarten field trip. Yeah, double down. And so he's at the farm, and I decided I went on the field trip. It's with Gracie in your class, and we get to the place. I rode in the school bus with the kids. I hadn't been in a school bus probably since high school, so I was just like, wow, this is crazy. And being in a school bus with kindergartners, they are so excited over every turn. Whoa! They have just such a excitement for life that I almost sort of forgot about. But so that was fun into itself. And we get there. It was cool. It was way out in the sticks. Get to the farm, and we hadn't been. This was like around 9 o'clock in the morning. We hadn't been there maybe 10 minutes. We got through the introduction part, and there's sort of a free roaming play section before they'd start a tour. So the kids started playing, and I'm, checking it out, watching Gracie and her friends and just seeing her interact and stuff. And I noticed there was like a little play set. I don't know what you call it, but it has a slide and they can climb up and all that kind of stuff. And Gracie loves those types of things. So she's going over there with one of the little girls in the class, and I'm watching them climb up to get to the top. And I'm like, oh, okay, let me walk to the other side so I can see them from the other angle, because they're going, I would assume there's a slide on the other side. But as I'm walking toward it, and I hear another parent say, oh, I think she fell or something. And then I see Gracie kind of come walking around, and she started crying. I was like, oh, Gracie fell, because I couldn't see it from where I was standing. And I go to pick her up, man. And I could tell she's hurt. She's crying. I figured maybe she fell, scraped her leg or whatever. Stuff like that happens. But she I pick her up and she almost kind of like just, I'll describe it. She didn't faint, but it just felt like she just was like, ugh, like she wanted to pass out. That's when my mom was like, whoa, what the hell? And I'm like, are you all right? Like, what's going on? And she's just crying and she just puts her head down. And I'm just like, oh, I don't know what, I'm tripping. So I end up grabbing her and I'm trying to look for a place to sit down. And so I see a little bench thing, and I'm kind of walking to that direction. I'm holding her and I'm like, are you okay? She just kind of started crying. And she's like, oh, it hurts. And I'm like, okay, where is it hurt? And so I'm sitting down looking, and she kind of just is kind of whimpering, kind of crying. And I've seen her do that kind of stuff. So I was like, well, let's see what's going on. I know it hurts. Let's sit back. And so for a minute, she seems kind of cool. And then they move on to the next part of where they're going to take the kids. It's like this cornfield thing they can run in. And she didn't want to walk over there. So I picked her up, walked over. And we're looking at it, and all the other kids get in. I'm like, you sure you don't want to get in? You don't feel it? She's like, okay. She gets in. And she does take her shoes off and gets in there. But I could see she's not having fun, because normally she's all over the place. And I'm like, okay, come on, let's just take her out. So I take her out, put her shoes on. And at this point, I'm like, oh, I asked one of the staff, do you have a nurse here? She's like, no, we don't. And I'm like, okay, let me get the teacher. So basically, just wrap it up. I told them, hey, man, and I didn't drive there. I said, hey, you got to take me back to my car. We got to go. So they take us back to the car. And from there, I just take her home and kind of assess her a little bit. But we ended up taking her to the ER because I just wanted to get her checked out, me and her mom. And at the end of the day, all the testing and stuff, there's nothing serious, nothing was wrong. She was getting kind of better as the day was going. But it was just like, man, it shook the shit out of me, like to see your child and you almost kind of like hopeless or helplessness kind of, and I'm way out somewhere else and I don't have my vehicle. So some of the control is gone. I'm like, and I don't know these people. And it was just like, man, it was such a day, but this morning, she's back to her super active self and everything was good. But it was just a moment. It was like that whole day was just stressed out, man. So it feels good to feel better. We on the mic and moving forward. But I wanted to say what that was. A lot of people was hitting me up on the sides and we're fine. Thank you. But it was a rough day.
I love how you said you went up to the people like, yo, y'all gotta take me to my car. Like, oh, that's bossing up right there.
Man, the thing is, I've had time to reflect on it and calm down. I was mad I was pissed off because I was like, well, where's what happened? How you gonna have this? And you know what I mean? I wanted to ask these questions. It was the principal who drove the school bus, and as we were driving back, I said, "Do you guys have a nurse at the school?" He was like, "No." Wah, 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 wah. I was like, "Man," go ahead and get me to my car so before this thing gets out of control. Because and again, I'm not placing blame or anything at the moment, but it was one of them days, man. It was just like, and as I'm saying, if you were the lone parent and you're way out there somewhere else, especially if I'm talking to my father's out there and you see your little girl going through it, that's one of the worst feelings, man. Like, and it was so interesting because I was there and I thought it was another parent, but it was a grandmother of one of the children. And she had walked up to me and she's like, "Oh, what's your name?" She's introducing herself. And she's like, "Oh, it's so good to see the fathers here, to see a father here." I was like, "Oh, of course, blah, blah, blah." And it was like right after that when somebody said, "Oh, I think she fell." God, man.
So what did she fall off of, and do you know how high it was?
It was again, I did talk to a teacher who did see it, and this was a brother, matter of fact, and he was like, yeah, she kind of like fell off the side of the slide, and I'm assuming like she was kind of going down, and I'm not sure, I couldn't see if she's standing up or what happened, or if it was slippery. This was early in the morning, like maybe 9:15 a.m., and we're like in the mountain kind of thing. So there was a lot of fog and damp. So, I assume she fell on her stomach or something. At the time, I didn't know if it was like a broken rib at the worst or, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, you don't know. And I've heard many stories where people kind of waited too long to take their kids somewhere or something to get them checked out. And that was just like, and luckily I live literally a block away from the hospital, so we just went right over there. But yeah, man, we gotta watch our kids as best we can, and deal with these situations that can happen, man. That's just a part of being a parent. Yeah, shit can happen. I remember my son hit his head one day, busted his head open in the front of his head. We had to take him to the hospital. Man, that was like, And I think it happened at school, as a matter of fact. So, but I just remember getting that phone call and like, all my parents know. Ain't nothing like, I can laugh at it now, but there's nothing like the feeling of thinking something bad is happening with your child. That is the worst, man. Woo. That's why anytime I hear about these stories with kids, things that happen, I cannot imagine if that was my child. Like, it'd be over, man. That'd take me out too. Whew. But anyway, we're in a better place today. Everything was fine. I feel like I'm bringing it down. Want to bring it up. So let's get into some topics, man. And I didn't want to start with this, but I'm kind of in the mood. I think we should start. I want to talk about some Prince first off. Oh, what? Exactly. Diamonds and Pearls, as a matter of fact.
If I gave you diamonds and pearls.
Yes. So this album was released, and I'm seeing all this stuff online. I'm like, oh, what is it? Is it 25 years or
30?
30 years, excuse me. 30 years since the release of this. April 1st, 1991. Diamonds and Pearls, Prince, and this was the new power generation. Mm-hmm. Their debut with the title on the record. It was Prince's 13th album at the time. And I remember a lot about this when it came out, and just the time of when this came out. I remember this. It was, he was really pushing hard, but just wanted to have a conversation about, man, this album and just this time in general, what we remember, what we like, and all that good stuff. And I'll just start with Big Sexy, just to say, what do you remember about the time leading up to this album?
Oh man, everything. I was a college senior. The Get Off video had come out first, and the song had come out, and it was like a return to greatness. You know, a lot of people were still digesting the whole Graffiti Bridge thing, and were like, I don't know. And then he had a whole new look. He had that Typhoon do, the big bouffant hair up on top, and a new band. And then the album comes out, and looking at it, hindsight, it was clearly, and I hate to say a comeback, because I'm not going to call it a comeback. He's been there for years. But the thing is, from a commercial standpoint, it put him right back in the mix. You know, it had several singles off of it. He started to integrate the Game Boys more in it. It was a whole new vibe, had new people. You know, you look at the band, you're like, who's this guy in a 24-piece bucket of chicken hat? And who's the white guy with all the damn hair? Who are these cats? And it was great. I remember being up late at night and catching his performance at the Special Olympics.
Yes.
And it was just a great album. It had good press all around it. I'm sure it toured, but I don't recall it coming here because I didn't see that tour.
I don't think it didn't hit the States.
Well, didn't he play it in a Radio City Music Hall?
He might have done some one-off shows.
Yeah,
but there wasn't a tour. Yeah,
you know, he didn't tour behind it. Oh, I was not pleased. You know, and he introduced us to Rosie Gaines, and she did her thing. I'm like, this is great. It was a magnificent album. The only negative I have about it is that's the album that sparked the deal that ended up with him leaving Warner Brothers. But that's a whole nother, situation. But it was a great album. And just, again, the look. Because when I saw all right, it's us. I'll say it. When I saw the Cream video first, the extended version, and he's walking through the airport doing his thing, and you see this this hot woman, and she's all decked out with her man at the train station, and he's all, why are you dressed like this? Well, Prince likes it. And he's like, Prince? Who's Prince? And you cut to Prince walking through the train station with Diamond and Pearl, not saying a word. I'm like, that's the coolest man on the planet right there. I love that video.
It's funny now that you mentioned that video, and I remember about that. There's a lot of I'm seeing now, thinking about it, there's a lot of things that's saying when, the kind of man that she was with.
Oh, he looked like he was connected.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And how Prince is like, and I'm saying that now, which makes me think of this. We're weaving today. I'm sorry. I was just watching the Sopranos movie.
Yes. I did catch that yesterday.
There was a scene in there. I must say, it was very confusing to me. There was too many characters. I didn't know what was going on. But I remember one of the characters, his woman, he had just bought her a beauty salon and all this, you know. You know what I'm talking about? And she told him that, you know, she had cheated on him with a black dude. And I'm not going to spoil it, but his reaction to that, I was just like, whoa. But I was like, so it made me, as you were talking about this Diamonds and Pearls, it makes me flash back to that, because that type of a guy, and you saying, oh, you're dating a black guy? You know, you see how he took it and why. I could be just reaching, but I can kind of see why would they have a kind of, you assume he's a mobbed up sort of character in this video, and it's Prince. You know, he's the black rock star. The girl, you know, all the girls love him, and the guy's reaction like, "Oh, that mother, who's that? That moving yawn?" No, he didn't say that. But I can kind of get. I'm reading that into it. But anyway, I'm running. Diamonds, Pearls. I'm gonna go to Ampu, but just to go back to you, just in terms of like, you know, that going into the album, I was right there with you with the staying up late at night watching that performance of the Special Olympics. Was that? I guess it was the actual presentation of the Special Olympics. I don't know why they played it so late at night.
Exactly. But I don't know why it was on like midnight.
Yeah, it was. But you knew Prince was going to be on there. So, I'm watching it. And I remember like, okay, it's time for Prince. And he did Baby, I'm a Star. Mm-hmm. And Diamonds and Pearls. And this was before Diamonds and Pearls was released as a single.
Yes.
And before the album came out. So just hearing this new song. And I remember off the bat, like, this song is good. This is not what I would expect. It's like a ballad, power ballad type thing. I was like, whoa. I thought he was just going, you know, the standard, you know, Prince song and dance, but he came with a different vibe and blew it out the water. In my opinion, you know, the guitar solo at the end, I was like, my God. And like you said, it was a whole new band. So it was the first time for me, after I remember actually seeing them all play together and his new look and stuff. I was like, wow. You know, so I was just so like, wow, there was a lot of wowness going on at the same time. And I just remember being blown away. I will say this. I was listening to the album last night. I was listening to Diamonds and Pearls. To me, Diamonds and Pearls is a refined and greater, better style of the song Graffiti Bridge. It's the same type of vibe to me. I can almost hear them singing that in Diamonds and Pearls. You know, and then Diamonds and Pearls. They're very similar, actually. If just Graffiti Bridge just has too much going on, and the sugar coating of corniness is so thick that you kind of takes it takes you away from actually what's underneath that, which is to me a great Prince song. But it's this type of a Prince, you know, and Diamonds and Pearls, that same kind of. It's you know, it's also, I would say, it's Diamonds and Pearls, Arms of Orion, and then they cultivate or whatever into Diamonds and Pearls, like that. That's what the best. That was it took all those songs to get to this, where it doesn't come off corny. It's soulful. And I think when you have Rosie Gaines' vocal on there, it just takes it to a whole different vibe. We also got to remember too, there was a lot of TV performances for this. The MTV Awards, where they did Get Off.
The Get Off.
That was iconic. I believe that happened after this, the Arsenio Hall performance.
When he took over the show, that was amazing.
And that was special because you like, okay, they're not going to just have Prince on to do a performance. He's playing the whole show. Like, you're going to get a concert. Yes. I remember I was so hyped for that. Like, I was like, and then when he first starts, was it Daddy Pop, right? I think Daddy. I was just like, what is this? Like, it was just all new, man. It was just a different Prince. And it was dope. I was just like, yeah. The whole, and he did Kiss. That shit was tight as hell. And Cream.
Yep.
And that was before, the album had not came out yet. And so that was the first time we heard Cream, even before the single had came out. And I was blown away. I was like, oh man, I was like, this is going to be crazy.
He's letting us know that he's still that guy.
Yeah. Yeah. And just like, it was ridiculous. And Pooh. Diamonds and Pearls. What's your thoughts on this album, sir?
Well, for me, I'm a little younger than you guys, so I was 14 at the time when this dropped out. I was in the 9th grade, so my context for all of this was through the lens of someone that was trying to figure out puberty. So, you know, I just knew Diamond and Pearl absolutely looked good. And the Cream video with all the chicas, I was like, oh boy, I don't like Nintendo no more. I'm delivered. But yeah, for me, I remember after Graffiti Bridge, I liked a lot of those songs. And then, you know, because again, since I'm younger, I'm not really fully understanding the music industry and what's going on as far as these new albums. I just had no understanding that Prince was putting out a new album every year. I just thought he was on his Michael Jackson and he had like 7-8 singles from one album. So I'm like, so we had Graffiti Bridge and then Get Off come. I'm like, wait a minute, this ain't on here. And I'm like, God damn, another album? And my mom went out and bought the Get Off maxi single, which to me is still the greatest single release ever. And I'm not talking about Prince. I'm talking about all genres, all of music. To me, the greatest single release ever. There were so many remixes of Get Off, and then he had Violet the Organ Grinder. Then
that
he
was
had
the cut.
The Futuremento, then Gangsta Glam, which, you know, we kind of, you know, have, you know, we kind of poke fun at Tony M at times, but he was flowing on that one. I will give him props on that. But yeah, when the MTV Music Award came out and we saw the whole spectacle, and then he turned around and you was just like, oh, this motherfucker. Yeah. I was like, and then the first thing that came to mind was like, wait a minute, didn't his mans all pile up? I was like, wow, he's going for some other stuff. Okay. But just overall, I really didn't appreciate, you know, the albums past the hits. And then when I actually went into the album and heard Live for Love, which I thought was a really dope song, Thunder, Daddy Pop, I was like, okay, he got some really good cuts on there. This is definitely a return to form, a return to mainstream. I wouldn't say black radio and R&B, but to mainstream, because he had the new look. He had the hip hop influence in it, which you could clearly see. And he already, at the VMAs, he was like, fuck what Madonna's doing, fuck what MJ was doing, look at what I did. I'll never forget that when the performance was over, Arsenio Hall said, like, man, he just left all these people up here, got gold ladies just standing around. He's like, gone somewhere. I would love to know what that was about. But yeah, it was definitely a dope album and even better releases.
Yes.
Gangsta Glam is in my head now.
Gangsta Glam is dope as fuck too.
That's the jam.
I remember that, and I'm glad you brought up the whole Get Off thing. That was also a VHS released on video, and it was, at least to me, was the first sort of long form, you know, video movie type deal project, or at least a major artist where every remix had a video. I don't know who came up with that. Prince came up with that. Was genius, man.
Well, he had two though. He had the Get Off, you know, long form, and he had the Diamonds and Pearls video collection that had Call the Law on it.
Yeah,
I'm like, that's what's up.
Yeah, they was hot, man. Like that's what I'm saying.
Getting busy, y'all.
The Prince and the MPG, a New Power Generation, and with Tony and all those, that shit was hot, man. Like,
and it only lasted one album. Damn it!
It was 2 albums, right?
But no, I mean, it's that lineup because remember Rosie was gone. The next album.
Yeah, she was gone on the solo album. That's true.
Yeah, but yeah, man, they were the shit, man. And I was, I listened to the whole album last night. And I remember, and I probably said this in the review back in the day, like Thunder, Daddy Pop, even Live for Love. I used to skip those songs when I first.
You skipped Daddy Pop?
Well, you know why? Because the first time I heard Daddy Pop was the Arsenio performance. And the way they play it on that, in my opinion, is far superior than the album version. So I was just like, I couldn't understand why the album version didn't sound like that. So I would always listen to that version. But Thunder, I didn't want to get into it. It's not that I thought it was bad per se. I just felt like it reminded me of like it was that Lemon Crush type Prince, which at the time I wasn't really fucking with. It is what it is. And then Live for Love, I thought at the time, I honestly thought it was kind of corny to me. Like the music, I thought it was corny. I was like, because I thought it was corny because at the time I was heavy into doing music myself, and I felt like anybody could have made that song, at least the beat and stuff. And it would always bother me as a snob that Prince would sort of use things that I figured other people could use. Like, you know what I mean? That's how I was into it back in the day. Like everything had to be on some unique shit. If it was Prince, my brain would not allow me to accept him sort of adopting shit that I heard other places. But I say all that to say, listening to it now in 2021, after all this time and all these years, he was a freaking genius for those songs. I was listening to it, I was like, I didn't get it. I didn't fully understand it at the time, but sonically, what he's doing with these songs, lyrically, the way they're playing the music, and if I go back into listening to this in context of where he just came from musically, and then what was going on at that time, and that he was able to adapt that sound and make it his own, and then make it new, is pure genius. And I was like, damn, he started the album with the song called Thunder, talking about Jesus, and I was like, that's why they went over my head. Most pop artists or whatever not going to start the album talking about something like that, and particularly in the type of image that he has. So I was like, okay. And then Diamonds and Pearls, I was like, this is a classic Prince song. Cream, that's a classic Prince song. I was like, this song is ridiculous. Like I was like, I know the song through and through, but I was just listening to it. I was like, this dude, he could just turn anything. He could write hits, and he was just writing hits. I was like, this is a freaking classic song. I'm just looking because I'm looking at it. Strolling, which is always my favorite back then. This is brilliant, man. Like what other cat would go from all the other stuff and then be able to jump into the pocket of like this, jazz kind of swing, and then kill it, in my opinion. I was like, man, that's crazy. Willing and Able.
Great song.
That's one of his. Yeah, I was like, listen to the background vocals, the steals. That brings his shit to a whole nother level, man. I was like, God, and this nigga's doing church.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, and killing it. I was like, this is ridiculous.
MCP on the mellow tip.
Yeah, Tony M was dope as hell in
He was dope there. I gotta give it up. He was on point.
Rosie Gaines, tell him I don't mind. It's just so soulful. I was like, that's one of his most soulful songs, in my opinion.
Yeah, that song's a jam.
It's just ridiculous. And then don't even talk about the video version, which I remember it debuted as it was a part of an NFL thing. Do you remember that, Big Sexy? The first time they played that, I want to say it was a Sunday football broadcast of something, and it kept building. I remember the commercials. It's going to have a Prince thing. Prince is going to debut a new song, and it was this video.
Damn, I do not remember that.
I remember. Somebody look it up. I remember this. And that's why I was like, I thought he was going to be playing there live, but then I was like, oh no, this is like a live video. This is on video. And I was like, oh, this is Willie.
That's how they did. They did it back in the day like that.
Yeah, and I was like, this shit is
premieres.
dope as hell. Because that's one of those songs I didn't think the band would ever play live. I just thought there's no way they could recapture that. But was I wrong? And let me just go to this real quick. I don't care what nobody says. Listening to it last night, Jughead is dope. Y'all done let some clowns overseas put out some review or say something online that they ain't got nothing to do with that style of music or that culture, and they tell you that it ain't no good, and y'all believe it. Jughead is dope. I was jamming. I was like, nah, listen to the music. Prince is jamming.
They dropping, they talking to you.
Hey, this came out in 1991, and they was jamming. I don't care. Anybody can tell me that music is dope. You don't understand.
Oh, the music is dope, but the lyrics, yeah.
I'm not mad at nothing about it. Rosie Gaines jamming. If you was really listening when she's Jughead, she's jamming when she's. I was like, I had to rewind it and listen to it again. I was like, Rosie killing them. She killing them on the whole album, but yeah, Rosie was stupid on that song. Money Don't Matter Tonight, man.
Oh,
classic Prince.
Great song.
I wouldn't be surprised if he had written that song years earlier. That sound like if that had turned up on 1999, I would not be surprised. That's just classic.
Oh, it's a great song.
Classic Prince. Another song I'm riding for, Push.
Push.
1991, New Jack Swing was popping, and Prince does it. That shit is banging to me. I don't care.
I'm watching the Willie and Abel video, and apparently they're playing it live.
Yeah.
And my man Tony's got his guitar on. Go ahead, Tony.
Listen.
Do your thing, man.
I shared a thing that Tony posted last night. The MPG, I guess they did a show over the weekend or yesterday as we're recording this. And they're doing Little Red Corvette. No, they're doing a Lady Cab Driver. And Tony got the guitar. The camera person standing right in front of Tony. And he's jamming. It's crystal clear. Now, I don't know if there's another guitar player behind him. But he's playing. And he's standing right up there. And the band is smoking that song. Like, I was like, whoa, okay. So yeah, props to Tony. I'm not hating Push. I'm just saying Push is dope. And of course, I'm just gonna end Insatiable. Go listen to that right now. And listen with some headphones and listen to his vocal works, man. It's nasty. This whole album, the background harmonies and vocals in these songs, it's nasty. Like, this is where Prince stepped up and really, he was always doing harmonies, but on here, he doing some shit. And it's EQ'd so you can hear him. It's even Get Off, they doing that thing toward the end. If you're not listening for it, it just sounds like kind of it's something to fill out the noise of it. But actually listen to them harmonies, man. This shit is tight. Yeah, the vocal work on this album is stellar, man. And when you get to the next album, I think he really got into his background bag heavy. When you think of songs like Seven and God Created Woman, and all them background.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But
Rosie was my girl, man. I'm watching this. She's killing it.
She's bad, man. She took his shit to another level, in my opinion. Just more like that vocal that I know he always need. I think he always wanted to have
gospel vocals.
Yeah. And there it is. And she brought it, and that changed forever. His stuff going forward, it had to be a strong vocal, gospel type sister singing on it. To give it that, to take it to that next, that evolves into Shelby. What was the other one? Live, yeah. And even it probably really was Bonnie might have been the first one on his music to really bring that vibe, but Rosie just kicked the door
to the next level.
Yeah.
I personally love Bonnie more, but you cannot deny what Rosie's vocals. She just has a whole other style and power to it.
Yeah. Even the later song, Jam of the Year. Again, that song riding on Rosie's vocal, man. Like she was you know what? In a weird way, Rosie was Prince's Nate Dogg.
Help me out. You gotta help me out with that.
Well, in the sense that Nate Dogg, has such a very distinctive voice, and when you hear it when it's used properly on songs, it's classic. It always cuts through, and it's just like, oh, that's Nate Dogg.
Like,
smoke weed every day. Whatever shit he's on. There's no denying that. Oh, that's Nate Dogg. And I think with Rosie's. Go ahead.
Like Ice Cube said, ain't a hit unless Nate Dogg sing the hook.
Yeah, and when you hear his voice, this is gonna be good. Right. And I think the same with Rosie. When you hear her voice on Prince's tracks, I can't think of a song a bad song that Rosie's singing on. It's always elevated. Like, okay, this is gonna be the shit. I don't know if that's her voice on Acknowledge Me, but in my mind I think that's her voice, and it makes me take notice right at the top, like, oh, this is shit Rosie blasting on. Okay, this is gonna be dope. Anytime her voice comes through, it's okay. Yeah. But yeah, man, stellar album, stellar videos.
Woo. Yes, killing it.
Just badass all the way around, man. You can't deny it. Prince.
The steals were on point too, man. Damn.
Yeah, man. Yeah, Prince killed that, man. That whole rollout, he killed that.
Yeah.
Coming off of Graffiti Bridge, he was like, "Oh, no, y'all not gonna act like I'm not out here and a force to be reckoned with." When he dropped that "Get Off," that's when he was like, "Okay, he ain't playing."
No, what's amazing about that is I personally will listen to Get Off way more times than I will with Diamond and Pearls and Cream. And I'm still just shocked, like, how did Cream go number one?
You know what? I used to say that too, but to me, the song is such a universal type
Great song, man.
Like, what is it? Like, it's a blues. It's just a blues rock song that I think would work anytime.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's a great freaking song. That's why it went number one. I think it could still be like, you could play it today and it's easily catchy and you can understand what it's doing. And I think it's just calling to that type of music that is just ingrained in a lot of Americans anyway. It's that country, folk, soul. You know what I mean?
When a songwriter comes up, this again crosses genre lines. When they come up with that hit single, it's just you just know.
Yeah.
You know. The minute you write it and finish, you're like, yeah, that's a hit.
Yeah. I could see that. I could see Cream I could see that came out like in the 60s or something. It would, you know what I mean? It wouldn't have been, it would have just been played a little different sonically, and it may not have been called Cream because it's a little overt, but I could see like some old dude, sitting on a stool. You know what I mean? It's just
don't give Beck any ideas.
Hilarious.
Wow.
Hilarious. I can see where you're going with that. But yeah, man, Prince has so many styles, man. That's one thing on this album. There are so many different styles done great. You know what I mean? Like he taps into that. He tapped into hip hop, tapped into gospel, the ballads, even sort of dance type stuff. I mean, jazz. It's all over the place, but it all works. Like the way he sequenced the album, I think is dope too. Everything just flows together, man. And he packaged it in a very fascinating, flashy type of way. Even just the album cover with the hologram, that was some shit back in 91. Like, whoa, who's doing that? I was just like, that shit was crazy.
And we got it. So what you're telling me is we have to blame Prince for all those foil-gated comic book covers that ruined that
industry. Hilarious. I'm curious
what is
that
onslaught.
Yeah. Hey, yeah, man.
Die-cut holofoil. Oh, really? Come on, man.
It was probably either that or a fold-out thing with a pop-up. And no telling what Prince had pop-up out of there.
Yeah, because I do not remember anybody doing that holographic foil thing before Prince, and it seemed like every year comic books was coming out with one. I'm like,
every month it was all over the place. It really hit during the Image Revolution, which was right after that album. Yeah. Oh, yeah, it was bad.
I guess it was. Yeah.
But going back to the Cream video. And he had the whole long form video. If you look at the whole video, Prince never said a word. I mean, at one point he's sitting with the Diamond and Pearl and, eating ice cream or cream off one of them. She's like, oh, you like some of hers, but not none of mine. I'm like, oh, okay. And I believe during the Call of the Law, that was when we broke out the infamous Mankini. Dun, 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 dun.
Well, that was Gangsta Glam.
Gangsta Glam. That's corrected.
Yeah.
But he was rocking a Mankini and a Typhoon Dew. I'm like, okay, Prince, do what you do, man.
Now, here's a question. I'm not trying to bring us down, but as well as this album did, I'm still trying to figure out, and I could be accused of it as well because I didn't really gravitate to the follow-up album outside of Sexy MF and 7, but I'm just really trying to understand, like, okay, seeing what he had on that album, how did that one not do better?
How did the Love Symbol album not do better?
Yeah, because he had some joints on there, and he still had the same components. Well, Rosie was gone, but most of the same components from the original album. I'm sure he had the same creativity, and he had some bangers.
Well, yeah, you think about it. You can say that about any, I'll just use pop music. Any pop music comes out, or any performer comes out with a major hit, there's always going to be drop-off. You always lose that casual fan. If you look at Purple Rain, you look at the sales for Around the World a Day, not the same. You look at Thriller, that's not the same. It's just, you always lose that casual fan. And now granted, the subsequent album may be superior in a lot of cases, but the casual fan has gone to the next, quote, hot thing.
Well, I think the lead-in singles for this album were not the greatest choices, personally. As much as I love Sexy MF, that's not gonna. You're not gonna get that. It's not gonna be a number one song. Can't play it on the radio. It's not gonna be not gonna play that video on TV. And then after that, I believe they released "My Name Is Prince."
My Name Is Prince,
which to me is just not a good song. Not a good song in terms of is it going to be a number one? I don't think so. I didn't like the song when it came out. Personally, I'm a Prince fan, but
I liked it, but I didn't see it being a standalone or standout single. Not at all.
Yeah, I wouldn't have picked that as the single at all. No. After hearing the record, me personally, I would have been like "Love to the Nines," which again, I don't know if that would have been a number one song, but I think that was just a dope
7.
A 7, right? Which becomes which is a hit, which does become a hit. But I just think the lead into it wasn't good a setup, and I thought the album was confusing to me. It seemed like it was overloaded with stuff. Well,
this was Prince's attempt at doing, and he called it that in the album. He was doing a rock opera,
right?
A lot of people have tried it, and a lot of people have failed doing it. I'm not saying Prince did. But a lot of people have failed trying to do a cohesive rock opera. The most obvious example is Tommy with The Who. But if you look closely, you can say the same thing about What's Going On with Marvin Gaye, because it was all sequenced to tell a singular story. And Prince did that with this, or with that album, and it missed some places and it hit some places.
Yeah, I don't think it tells the story. It tells it in such a confusing way. Yeah. Only anybody that knows the story flow is Prince, and everybody else is like, what? It's just too vague, and it seems to be calling to other reference points, which may or may not have gotten released in time. So you don't know what the hell is going on. You just hear him talking about that.
I'm glad you said that because, we diehards have heard the unedited segues or segues of the Love Symbol album.
Yeah, I set myself up for that one.
Yeah, you did. When you hear that, it's like it's so long and so overbearing. You're like, what the hell? There's a reason he cut all that shit out, And once you cut it all out, it's choppy. The story is not clear. Yeah.
It's actually, looking at it, it's like it wants to be a soundtrack to something.
That's not out.
But we haven't. But we didn't see the movie or whatever it's the soundtrack to, so we don't know what this is about. We don't know what it's referring to. And maybe if he had came out with that long form video before the album came out for the hardcore, we could be, okay, I see the story now. The songs make sense to me. I understand why we're singing about princesses and all of this other stuff. And I just think this was another Graffiti Bridge. Some great songs on here, but it's marred in this story, which is unclear to the listener. I don't know what Prince is doing, and it will make sense later, probably. That's if the story's good. If the story's is not as good either, then it's not going to help. It's like, okay. I wish these songs weren't even associated with all of that. We could just have just the songs. This would have been a badass album, because there's some dope shit on here. But he was a rock star, and that's what rock stars do. He's shooting for the moon. He's doing big time shit. Sometimes it don't work. But anyway. Yeah, Diamonds and Pearls, great album. I know people have been pushing for a special edition. I could definitely see it. That would be dope. I could see that. Because there were a lot of great 12 inches, as we mentioned. I remember the Cream one. Did you ever get the Cream maxi single release? And it had the different edits on there. And again, it was, I forgot to ask this, Tony. Remember there's a whole thing on there where somebody's calling somebody on the telephone? I don't know if you remember that. And I don't know if it was Prince doing the calls, but it's a whole little stories in between the songs on the 12-inch. And somebody's prank calling and they're talking about Prince, oh, he ain't shit. It's hilarious. But I never really understood what is this, It was just one of those Prince things. It was funny, but you don't really know what it referenced to. It's so insider. But one of the songs I remember on that 12-inch that was dope to me, I always played it, was Do Your Dance. It was a Cream remix. Do Your Dance. And they just made a whole new song out of it, and it was so dope, man. It kind of reminded me of it's in the vibe of a gangster glam. It was an MPG thing, heavy Rosie, heavy Prince, and they was jamming. But yeah, go find that. Do Your Dance. Go find that song. But yeah, they got a lot of stuff they could show. There's a lot of great concert footage.
Yeah.
From this time. Matter of fact, I think when I went to Paisley Park during the Piano on the Mic weekend, one of those weekend nights, Prince played I think it's in Australia, Diamonds and Pearls show, but it was professionally shot, and you could tell it was edited for either TV or to be for sold, because it had the every song a title thing would come up.
Oh,
and say what the songs. It was a done, and it had credits, but he played. It was on. You could tell it was on VHS because it was low quality, but I was like, oh, okay. I remember seeing this on a bootleg. This must have been real, because here he's playing it at Paisley Park and we were watching it on TV. But anyway, yeah, there's a lot to do with that. All right, any last things on Prince before we move on?
Great album. I am all for a re-release. I hadn't visited this album in a while until, you mentioned we're going to talk about it, and just talking about it today, God damn, just brings it all back. That is a great album. Yes.
Last thing, I know last thing. Wasn't at the end of was it the Get Off video? Yeah, it was on the Get Off home video. Isn't at the very end is when he first plays the footage of Maite?
Yes. That's incredible. Yes.
Yeah, and you're and then again, I'm watching that like, what is this?
What is this?
Yeah, what is this all about? And then we find out, a year later or whatever. But yeah, I mean, just such brilliant sort of mythic storytelling that he's doing about himself and about the Prince show business part of himself. That's just very dope. Like he's like already plotting ahead. Now, interesting. That's also very interesting. We're not going to go down that route, but it's just interesting. He's playing some little girl's footage, and then who she ends up becoming. That's an interesting move for a rock star as well. But
yeah, that would work.
I don't know how that would play today, but
yeah, that'd be a no.
Very interesting. All right, changing the subject up.
Wait, hold up. I got some breaking news.
Oh, okay,
breaking news. October 17th, I believe it. The next versus battle is KRS-One versus Big Daddy Kane.
Whoa.
Okay.
Whoa.
That's
one I'll watch.
That's gonna be good. I love both of them. I don't. To me, that doesn't make all the sense, but I get it. There's no way that's gonna be anything but a celebrational type of thing. They're not gonna. I would be shocked if Chris is very aggressive, but I would be shocked if he's like trying to do the whole "we the best" type. Because
nah.
See, I guess they couldn't get Rakim, I suppose, because that would be Rakim versus Big Daddy Kane. That would have been the head busters of busters. But yeah, I'm not. Yeah, BDP.
It's going to be at Barclays, so I guess they're planning for a big event.
Yeah. There's going to be a lot of old school brothers up there, which I'm not mad at that. It's going to be dope.
I guess they saw the vibes that they got for the Dipset Locks one, so they're like, yeah, we can keep doing this in New York.
Yeah.
And they got a ton of MCs and groups they can get. So props to them. I'll definitely be interested to see how that goes on.
Both of them brothers, phenomenal live performers, Big Daddy Kane, phenomenally live. Even today, go look at some of them videos that he's performing, either the Tiny Desk or stuff where he's with the band. Badass, man. KRS-One, of course. He's the original Bogart. That was a classic hip-hop moment. PM Dawn was on stage. KRS-One took the mic, pushed him, throw him off the stage. That was hip-hop. That was the early mainstream sort of industry type group, and hip-hop was like, nah, we don't give a fuck who's backing this shit. Nah, matter of fact, super street and aggressive. They would never be able to do that today. Somebody would probably get killed, but yeah, that was hip hop. He always will be known for that, in my opinion. KRS-One, BDP.
Man, I need to go find this video. I keep hearing about it. I need to see this.
I don't know if it's on video. I don't think there's any video.
Yeah.
It's just, that was the word on the street.
I was surprised when I heard. I'm like, damn, Chris, you get down like that?
That's their whole style, though. I mean, they from the Bronx, hard. That was Boogie Down Production. They was the original gangster. The niggas had machine guns on the cover and stuff.
And see,
they was gangster. Then he went conscious.
Okay. Okay.
Remember, Straight Outta Compton, them records is sampling KRS-One on those records. So that's what Cuban was trying to be like. Yeah, he was the original cat.
Now it's in my head now. Thank you. Yeah. The gang called niggas with attitudes.
Yeah. Yeah, that shit. The South Bronx. South Bronx. Those records are hot.
Yeah, he got his Shan's ass on that.
Yeah, man.
He tried to stay with him, but when he came with South Bronx, it's over.
I would love this. That actually would be a good movie. I'm surprised they haven't done it. Would be a KRS-One Boogie Down production. The whole death of Scott LaRock.
Oh,
Stop the Violence, and where him being homeless and coming out as gangster, and then it hits home. His partner dies, coming back on some conscious gangster type stuff, and really and then also pushing hip hop to the extreme in terms of, you know, the vocal lyricism and the subject matter. Remember them songs, You Must Learn? Imagine if there was rappers that came out with some they was hardcore, but they was talking about knowledge and learning history, but it was done in the most hardcore way. That's crazy, man. And they was good songs. You know, it wasn't corny. It was like, damn, them niggas hardcore. And they smart. Like his whole thing was, you're not smart? Are you dumb, dog? Fuck out of here. That was the prevailing mindset back. That's another thing I've been watching this Wu-Tang show. If you have not watched the Wu-Tang American Saga, you are missing out.
Now, is that a documentary or is it
no? It's a
retelling?
scripted TV show. It's on its second season. Brilliant. Like, now, I will say this: some of it's not all truth. Like they're sensationalizing it for TV because they got Ruquan and what's my brother? Ghostface literally shooting at each other, trying to kill each other. And I was like, how would they be in a group? So that part didn't happen, but it is, suffice to say, brilliantly done. But I was saying, one thing that's interesting is watching it during that time of hip hop in New York. It was all about, I'm not going to say the right terminology for it, the whole God movement, you know, Black God movement, 5%ers, and they were always, what up, God? In the way that they saw each other, and what's the mathematics? They were gangster as hell, but it was like, imagine if there was gangsters, but like you would be tested on your knowledge of self. and like, do you see yourself as a God? And can you build? And can you like go back and forth and drop knowledge and give me something to go by? I was like, what? Somehow that part got lost. It just became about niggas, bitches, and hoes. As opposed to, if you can really imagine, and there's a part in the show that they show the hardcore Debo gangster dude would walking down the street and would look at, nigga, what's the mathematics? And if you didn't know what today's studies were, you get your ass whooped. Like, imagine if that was today, like Crips and walking down the street, and instead of saying, what up, cuz, it was like, hey, do you know what we're studying this week, nigga? And if you didn't have the answer, you get your ass whooped. I was like, what happened to that? It's so fascinating to me that at some point, you could see the lineage of the Malcolm and the Nation of Islam and even the Martin Luther King's, the Stokely Carmichael type of people that was so heavy, like empowerment, even that still seeped into the streets to where the streets adopted it, but made it into a very aggressive, you know, thugged out version of it. Like they would beat your ass if you didn't know what. So like, the other question I was like, how did it even get to that? Like, it is so perverted. Like Malcolm X didn't walk around you don't know knowledge is so beat, is that? You know, that's not. But I guess because maybe they were getting killed and they killed the nonviolent dudes. Even the violent dudes was like, well, we're gonna be hardcore, but we're still gonna see ourselves as being smart. And it's interesting how that has totally been taken out. I don't even know how I got into all of that conversation. Oh, because we were talking about KRS-One and the way they presented themselves, and I was just referencing the Wu-Tang and saying in the Wu-Tang, since the period piece, you can see that element of the neighborhoods where these guys, these young men, saw themselves at a very heightened spiritual sense, even though they were doing some dumb shit. There's a funny scene in the movie where they're trying to set up a phone to get a phone line for Wu-Tang at RZA's apartment. And I can't remember which member of Wu-Tang it is, but he's just calling on the phone trying to reach somebody at the phone company. And they would answer the phone. He'd be like, what up, God? And then he'd listen to what they say. And if they didn't give him the appropriate answer, he would hang up, and he just kept calling over and over for days. And what he was trying to do is he was trying to find a brother who worked at the phone company who was also into the black man is God ideology. And so he just, what up, God? Oh, I'm sorry. Can I help you? Click. Ding, ding, ding. What up, God? Hi, how you doing? Click. There's one. What up, God? Hey, peace on earth. Oh, let me chop it up with you. Here's what the God is trying to do. Can you hook up? And I was like, that's so interesting. I was like, that's very interesting. But anyway, I'm just running my mouth. But yeah, that's gonna be a dope versus. I'm here for it. Here for it. When did you say that was again, Ant? I guess Ant put that nigga to sleep.
Well, let me check real quick. It's October 17th, Sunday.
Oh, okay. So that's coming quick.
Yep.
Nice. R. Kelly. Finally convicted.
Yeah.
Was on racketeering charges, I believe.
Yep.
I also seeing he has got a number of other cases coming up, pending court cases that are going to be coming, some for child pornography, and I believe trafficking in multiple states. So this was just the first case. They got multiple cases he's about to go to court for, so it ain't over yet.
But there's a story out that he is apparently willing to talk to the feds and name names, pulling 619 on people.
Six?
What is his name? The Tekashi guy?
Oh, Tekashi. Yeah. No. 619.
Tekashi had a bunch of things on him. 6ix9ine. And he said, oh, no, I got names.
Yeah.
And you see, I could just see R. Kelly in the courthouse or in the courtroom doing the Nino Brown. I got a whole list of names.
This is bigger than R. Kelly. And hey, it may be bigger than R. Kelly.
It may be. Because if the names that were mentioned have dirt on them, oh, shit. This could be bad.
I say let them fry.
Hey, if you did it, you did it. You got to deal with it.
You're dealing with kids and molestation, then you got to go.
I ain't with it. Yeah. This reminds me of in baseball when Jose Canseco wrote his first book. People were like, he's nuts. And he named names, and the shit hit the fan with steroids. If something like this happens with this topic, wow, this could be bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of conversation, as it should be, about this as it just hit the news and stuff. And I would say I'm glad he was convicted on this. I felt like he should have been in jail
years ago.
Yeah, for this years ago. Finally, we're getting somewhere. And I also say not only just him, but the people that was around him who were helping him do all this stuff and were setting up these kids and flying people, they need to go down too. And this brother, he can't read. So he ain't booking tickets, paying rent on places, shuttling people around. He got other people doing all that stuff for him because he can't read what it says on the paperwork. So somebody else is a part of this. They need to go down. I almost feel like they need to get some of these parents who knowingly sent their kids into these situations. They need to go. This thing was allowed to go on for this long. That's that's another question that we have to have as a society as well. Like, we knew what he was doing. He had a videotape damn near 20 years before this, where he's literally molesting a child.
God.
Like, we knew that.
And yet people still defend this man.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
And, there's a lot to learn from this, man. You definitely hold him accountable. He's got to fry. But again, he did all this in a system that allowed him to do it for this long. And it's not like we didn't know. We've had many big things in media about, one of the big Dave Chappelle bits is a R. Kelly joke about peeing on kids. You see, it's funny, but it's a joke about peeing on kids.
On kids. Boondocks, same thing.
Right? It's joked. That's crazy. So just as much as that brother's accountable as he is, we allow a space for there to be jokes about peeing on kids. And it's funny to us.
Watching the protesting outside of the courthouse, for R. Kelly, took me right back to that Boondocks episode. It's like, really?
Yeah.
And the DA's like, he's peeing on kids. And the one woman was like, he can still sing. He good. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah. It's no different. And I think D.L. Hughley was saying it's no different than these people in the Catholic Church.
Oh, nope. You're right.
You know they doing wrong.
You know they're doing dirt.
But he's the pastor.
Give a fuck. He's got to go.
So he gets to slide. Or he makes good music, so he gets to slide.
Got to go.
But these
and
guys.
The Catholic Church is even worse because they will knowingly know this. It'll blow up, and what does the church do? They move him to another parish.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
There are institutions that are allowing this type of stuff. The Catholic institution, the music entertainment institution, they allow these things to go because these dudes either make money for everybody. Well, that's why they do it, because they make money. They're powerful and not going to get, I remember years ago, used to argue with certain women about R. Kelly when you're like, hey, they knew what they was getting into. Them girls, these are, I'm not going to even play into these were women saying this when women would come forward. Oh, she lying. Please, he can rape me. Remember we used to have these arguments years ago? Now, that's why we have to be very careful when they try to sort of spinning the conversation of, well, we got to listen to the sisters, or you got to listen to the well, then let's listen to the sisters. Right? When they come out and they say something about your favorite entertainer, remember, listen to the sisters. Don't just be like, she wanted to be, what I mean? No, she's saying she's being abused. If we'd have listened to the sisters years ago, we kind of shut them down a little earlier. We live in a system that will only act on what they see on TV. What I mean by that, if that documentary about R. Kelly didn't come out, he wouldn't be in jail right now. He'd have continued to got a pass. We are living in a system where we only activate on things that were made for a commercial reason to make money. And if they tell you something is wrong, then we pay attention. But before that documentary, we just kept listening to the music. We kept making jokes. We kept giving it a pass because it made us feel good, the songs, or it didn't happen to us, or we don't have to think about that. That's not what they're showing us, so I'm not going to even deal with it. That's why he's in the situations he's in. Same with Michael Jackson. Once that documentary came out, now it's a problem. Because they just told, it's being presented to you, and now you want to pay attention. And even that problem was fake.
But not to some people.
Right, but I'm just saying, it's only because when they make documentaries